All right, before we get him in here, let's give him the proper introduction for sure, because it's a good one. This guy is awesome. He's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and he's going to impart that to us today. So let's give him the introduction that he deserves. Here it is. As CMO of Century 21 Beggins Enterprises and partner of Century 21 BE3, Mike Puma leads the charge on digital marketing, branding, and strategic partnerships. C21 Beggins has become one of the largest C21 brokerages in the country. They are now the largest in the state of Florida, with 8 physical locations and a virtual model that covers the rest of Florida. In total, they are a team of over 400 agents. With his global perspective and proven strategies, Mike is considered to be an expert in social media marketing and brand building. Now this is where it gets good. All right, here we go. His career began at the age of 17, where he grew a brick-and-mortar sporting goods store into a multi-location franchise that was acquired by Play It Again Sports. Mike went on to hold executive roles with global brands such as Mattress Firm, Ideal Image, CBRE, and Premier Laser Spa. In 2016, Mike co-founded Strategic Innovations, which is the parent company to LulaKids Brand, a baby and kids consumer products company. EasyDial International, the world's only mobile number code technology platform, and MonsterCooler, a beverage cooler brand. Mike spends a majority of his time teaching and coaching real estate agents on how to better leverage the digital landscape. He helps his real estate agents build their personal brands and grow their social influence through simple and effective strategies. Mike holds a bachelor's in business marketing from the University of Tampa. Please join me in welcoming Mike Puma to the show. Mike, thank you so much for coming, buddy.
Oh man, I'm pumped to be here. And like I said, I'm on a mission today, and I know he's watching. Johnny Knight, you're going down, buddy. This episode, I'm taking it over. You have the most views up until now. I hope you enjoyed it, but you're going down. And also, please make sure he does not win the raffle either, because then technically he still wins.
Well, let's see. I don't think there's anything I can do about that. But I love the friendly competition, so let's bring it on. Let's make that happen.
Let's do it.
So, John, if you heard that, man, just let us know in the comments, because we'll make sure that was delivered loud and clear.
I had to.
Hey, so Mike, before we even get into the whole details and everything, let's just do a quick little rapid fire with you, just to kind of break the ice, get to know you a little bit better. So here we go. This is an easy one. What app on your phone could you just not go without?
Canva.com. The Canva app.
Oh, yeah.
The mobile app I literally use it multiple times a day, and it is amazing.
Okay. I'm in agreement with you on that one. Man, I use that for everything from social media posts to even the graphics you see in this show. We use Canva for that. The overlays, the background, everything. That's Canva.
Their new video editing side of things is awesome as well. So for those of you looking for a very cheap and easy way to edit videos, no better option.
I've not tried the video editing one. That's a good tip. I need to get in there and try that out.
That's awesome.
That's good. Oh, just so you know, Mike, here you go. Oh, wrong one. She just popped in. Well, there you go. Hey, Stacy. Here's Johnny. Game on.
Challenge accepted.
A challenge accepted. Oh, that's great. All right. Who is your favorite hero of fiction?
So I'm not a huge superhero guy, but if I had to pick one, I would say Batman, just because he's got both sides to him. Very successful businessman, but also just a general badass, right? So I would have to say Batman.
Okay, yeah, I'm a fan of Batman, right? I mean, if you look at all the superheroes out there, Batman is a real guy. Like, yeah, if we all trained hard enough, we could become Batman, maybe. But but at least we have a chance.
We got a shot. We got
a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's no superhero powers there at play. It's literally just a man being really awesome.
Right.
Oh, that's good. So what's left on your bucket list?
So I'd love to go tour Europe with my wife. We've traveled all over, but we have not gone to Europe together. And so that is on both of our bucket lists.
All right. Yeah. My wife's been, I have not. Really, that's on mine for sure. I want to check that out. All right. What is your most treasured possession?
My mindset.
Ooh.
I cannot live without a proper mindset. It literally is the foundation of of how I do everything. So it's the most important thing to me.
Wow, it's funny you say that. I'm reading currently with my family a book. I think it's called An Athlete's Mindset. I believe that's what it's called, and it talks about that. Like, you can have physical ability, you can have all the training, you can have everything in the world that just perfectly aligns, but if the mind is not built to be able to handle that, and you're not constantly developing the mindset, then you're just not going to accomplish what you could accomplish. It really does come down to mindset. That's a good one. That's a real good one.
I played baseball through college, and both my boys played baseball, and it literally is the foundation, I believe, of what got me to where I am today. But one of my favorite quotes is Henry Ford, who says, "If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And it just comes back to that fact that no matter what framework you've created for yourself physically, to your point, if the mindset does not match with that, it is never going to work. And so for me, everything starts and ends right here. And so that is definitely my most prized possession.
Man, that's good. And I would encourage people to really consider that when you're looking at your job and what you're doing. Keeping that right is big. It's a big key. And attitude, right?
For sure.
They go hand in hand. Usually starts with a thought. So, one of the first questions I was going to ask you is kind of like your story that led you up into getting into where you are now. But let's go back just a little farther, because in your bio, some of the businesses and stuff that you've been involved in. Let's talk about that just a little bit before we get into like the real estate side of it, because I find a lot of this very interesting. I think you're really a diverse person that has had a lot of experience outside of the real estate industry, and I think you're bringing a lot of that knowledge into the real estate industry. So I think we can build on that. So if you want to kind of go back and talk about some of those other businesses, like that, let's start with the brick and mortar sporting store being sold.
Yeah. I mean, listen, from a very early age, my dad is a serial entrepreneur. And so one of the things that I was exposed to very early on was him starting a variety of businesses, most of which were successful. Some were not as successful. But what I noticed and what he kind of taught me very early on was that it didn't really matter what the product or service was if you loved the process of whatever you were building. Right. And so I became, from a very early age, really focused on the process of things, not necessarily what I was actually working on. And so then when you can align that with something you are passionate about, it works out really well. And so at a young age, my brother's 6 years older than me, I was playing baseball. And at that time, Amazon really wasn't a thing. And at least not beyond books. And the only real big sporting goods stores that you had were, Play Again was around, but they were used equipment. And then you had Sports Authority and you had Dick's Sporting Goods. And neither of those guys really sold anything high end, right? So everything was catered towards that entry level type of player. And as I was getting older and I wanted nice equipment, as a baseball player, especially, you want to be able to touch and feel things. You gotta feel the glove. Because everything is all about feel. And so I saw there was this big gap in the marketplace, right? And so convinced my parents and friends and family to give us $50,000. And me and my brother started the sporting goods store. And the whole premise was that we would cater to the higher end player, but also we would do what the bigger brands weren't, which was really engage in the community. And where it all kind of began, which was the leagues. And so that's really where we focus. And so we went to all the leagues, not only in our area, but across the state, and basically said, listen, if we'll do your uniforms, and if you do your uniforms and buy your equipment through us, we'll donate a bunch of stuff, and we'll give every single person a 10% discount, and we'll take 10% of their purchases and give that money back to the league as a donation at the end of the year. And so what ended up happening was, by the end of our first year, we had over 300 leagues across the state that were all giving us their business. And that just kind of funneled it, right? And so then from there, we started getting some attention, and we were able to expand. And it was a lot of fun. And then we battled through, arguably one of the hardest financial times of 07, 08, which was not as fun. And but we made it through. after coming through that, we decided that it was time to move on. And we had a very attractive acquisition offer from Play It Again Sports, who the owner of Play It Again, who owned all of Florida, was looking to get into the new side of things. And he really liked some of our real estate locations that we had. And so he acquired the entire thing, and we had a nice little exit. But that's kind of where it all began, right? It's just that one little thought of, hey, there's a little bit of opportunity here. How can we go take advantage of it?
Man, and that's such a good story. That's really how a lot of these success stories really start. Is they find that issue in that general market, and then they figure out a way to be opportunistic about it and unique, and address a unique issue that they see. And I think, man, that was really good, man. Really foresight of you there to see that. And then, of course, you got into other businesses too. I mean, it was LulaKids Brand and EasyDial, and so each one of these you learned even more experiences throughout this whole journey that probably led you to where you are.
For sure. Well, what I like I said, right, watching my dad do it with a bunch of different businesses and all different types of industries, the one thing that really clicked with me at a young age was that it wasn't about it being sporting goods, or it being mattresses, or it being laser hair removal, or it being real estate. It's the same game, and it's the same approach, right? Same process, same building, everything's the same. Now, obviously, there's nuances to every industry, but the reality is that I personally realized very early on that I love the growth, right? I was not a guy that was going to go work for Bank of America for 30 years and then retire with a pension. Now, that's a smart thing to do, right? And there are a lot of people who made a lot of money doing that. The path I decided to take is way more risky and may never have this big of a reward. However, I just knew I get bored very easily if everything is steady and rolling. And so when things get that way, it's time for me to move on. I love the process of building, but because of that, it really doesn't matter what I'm selling or what we're building as long as we're building, right? And so I really learned to fall in love with that process. And listen, there's a lot of people who don't love that process because it is heart-wrenching at times and it is not easy, right? But for me, like, I love it. I absolutely love it. I actually like it almost in down times, like with even in real estate right now, as good as it is, it's not as fun for me. I like it when there's a little bit of a challenge. I'm a little weird in that sense, but yeah. So that's what kind of led me, and really what that did though is it created a framework where there was never a reason to say no. So if I saw there was an opportunity somewhere, I said yes, and I was able to jump on things, and I was able to get involved very early on in some companies. Ideal Image only had 40 locations when I started. When I left, we had 140, and it just sold for 175 million bucks, right? So I was able to get early on, and had you looked at my background and said, did he just go and invest in a laser hair removal company? Like, he can't even get it done. He has red hair. It made zero sense, other than I was able to meet with them, saw what they were doing, and realized that there was going to be a huge growth process that had to happen, and that excited the crap out of me. And so I said yes, right? So that's the thing. I think people get caught of like, oh, I don't know how to do real estate. Well, what'd you do before, right? Because it's going to translate. You just got to find how it's going to translate. And so that's kind of what's led me where I am today.
That's good. Yeah. So let's get into that now. Let's go ahead and jump into the Century 21. Is it pronounced B3, or do you do BE3, or how do you guys?
Yeah. So we've got Beggins and then BE3. So those are our two models. Beggins is the parent company, so they own everything. And so our BE3 model is our virtual model that kind of covers everywhere else that Beggins is not.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's good. And maybe even in the future, we can get into even the virtual model. I mean, that's interesting. I'm intrigued by that. But for today's conversation, we'll keep it with the real estate agencies and the agents themselves. Absolutely. But so let's talk about that. So when did you get into real estate specifically? Like, what year was that?
So, I mean, I spent some time at CBRE on the commercial side of things, helping them grow on the national account side. And then really residentially, though, Jeff and I are partners in MonsterCooler brand. So I met Jeff through some mutual colleagues years ago. And actually, we decided to go to a conference. I literally had met him one time at a lunch. We go to Minnesota. We're both at this event. We've got to drive back to the airport to fly back from Duluth, Minnesota. And literally after one lunch, she goes, "Hey, do you want to sit in the car together and drive back?" I'm like, "Sure." So we spent 3.5 hours in the car together. By the time we got to the airport, I think I had already been decided to join his team when we got back to Tampa and come on. And pretty much that's how fast it happened. So we landed in Tampa. I think the next day I met with him and Craig again. And we decided that everything I'd been doing up to that point, even a lot of the stuff we were doing in the e-commerce world, which is the business ultimately that we ended up partnering together on, we could translate into the real estate world. And so that's kind of how I got involved with those guys, and we never looked back, and we've been growing ever since.
Wow. So it was 8 locations, 400 plus agents. Is that?
Yeah. So we're pushing about 450 agents now, and growing, and we've got 8 physical locations, and we've got the virtual model covering everything else.
Wow. Is it all around Tampa, or does your 8 locations kind of spread out outside of Tampa?
Our 8 locations is the Tampa Bay market. So we've got them all the way from like truly Tampa out to the Gulf beaches, and then all the way south down into Sarasota. So we pretty much cover the entire Tampa Bay DMA.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, let's shift gears. Let's get into the meat of this. So, speaking of shifting, this is a market that's doing a lot of pivoting and a lot of shifting right now. What are some of the biggest ones that you've seen so far happen in the real estate industry, and what are you see kind of currently happening?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think there's some good and there's some bad that's happening right now, right? I think with the supply and demand challenge that we face in basically every single market in the United States, real estate wide right now, there's some unique challenges with inventory, obviously, but there's a lot of agents that are getting away with not being very good agents, being undertrained agents, just because they can literally stick a sign in the yard and have 32 offers. At the same time, this is a market where you've got to be a really good agent. And you've got to really know what you're doing, because it's great to get 32 offers. I think we're averaging like 22 offers on a listing right now with our brokerage.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? And so, we're still selling anywhere from 15 to 30 homes a day. But that's down from 40 to 50 just because we don't have the inventory to sell.
Wow.
So the inventory is a major concern. It's a major, major concern. And so a lot of my time and Jeff's time and Craig's time right now is being spent on trying to figure out, how do we solve that problem? How do we fill that gap? How do we create partnerships and programs that are going to help with that issue? And we're actively working on that. But I think that's one of the biggest shifts, right? Is an agent went from not really knowing what to do to getting 23 offers. And that's super exciting. But how do you go through 23 offers? Which one's the best one, right? Your job as an agent is to advise the client and guide them through the process. What are you advising them on? Which one's better? Which one should they take? What contingencies should we be looking at? Those are the challenges. And so I think you've got a marketplace that for years has been extremely undertrained, right, by their brokers, because you've got a lot of brokers that could just sit back and not really do a whole lot. Yep. And now you've got undertrained agents that are trying to decipher through multiple offer situations, which are not easy, or representing a buyer going into a 22 offer situation. And how do you separate them? Right. So these, in my opinion, are the biggest challenges in the current market environment that agents are facing.
Yeah. So that kind of is a good segue here. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing, like with your agents? Because we're seeing the same thing here. Rising cost of materials. Matter of fact, one of our agents had a shirt he posted in one of our Zoom meetings. It was how Trump said "Make America Great Again." It looked just like the red shirt, but it had white. It said "Make plywood cheap again." So I was like, that's so good. I mean, that's absolutely true. And anyway, so we're seeing that. I mean, are you guys seeing a lot of new developments and new built homes down there, or is that still kind of not really picked up yet.
Yeah, so we certainly still have a lot of new construction going on, right? What you have seen though is a lot of the smaller, more boutique builders have really struggled because their costs have skyrocketed. We had a developer that we were doing a lot of business with that has gotten into some very serious problems as of late because they sold homes at one price that they physically can't afford to honor the contract on. Now that they're building them, right? So that's obviously a major issue. But for the most part, we're still seeing the big guys, Lennar, they're all still building. So we have that going on, but costs are rising there, and there's just as much demand there as well. We do personally handle a lot of ground up condo hotel stuff, so that stuff is still booming. Jeff directs a lot of that on our side, and that we've got like 5 or 6 exclusive ground up condo hotel stuff going on right now. So that stuff is still happening. But from a true market perspective, there's a few things we're doing at the brokerage level to try and help. Number one, when we're listing for our sellers, we're doing a lot of things to control the process, right? And try and control the flow, knowing that we are going to get 22 offers, knowing that we do need to review each one and really advise our clients properly. We're doing a lot of things where we're saying, hey, putting in the MLS notes, we will not be reviewing any offers until this day, right? And that gives them time to get offers in and keep buyers from saying, oh, where's the offer? Is it getting accepted? What's going on, right? And it takes some of that stress off and saying, okay, we're going to wait. We're going to see what comes in. And by this day, then we will review all offers and make a decision. Obviously, stuff with contingencies is not really an option right now. But in order to make that happen, we're doing a lot of stuff on the front end, right? We're making sure our sellers are getting full inspections. We're making sure that we have everything detailed out so that when a buyer comes in, we can say, listen, this house is in good shape. We've done our own inspections. We've had everything repaired. Here it is. The house is ready to go. Make your offer and let's go. Remove the contingencies and let's move this thing. So we're doing a lot of things to try and prep the home as best we can. And then on the buy side, we're doing a lot of escalation clauses. We're doing a lot of notes, videos, those types of things. But then to try and help with the biggest challenge here, we've just started creating some partnerships and trying to solve some of those problems, right? So we know that in this market, like I'll just use myself as an example, I should sell my house, right? I have a ton of equity. There's a lot of demand. I should sell my house. So why won't I, right? And this is trying to solve that inventory problem. Why won't I, right? Well, I won't because I've got 2 kids who go to a school, and that school is dictated by 4 subdivisions. And if I don't live in one of those 4 subdivisions, my kids don't go to that school anymore. Okay, so what if I had the option then to go buy before I ever sell and pick one of those 4 subdivisions, finally find a house in there that we like, buy it, secure it, so I know I'm not going to be homeless. I know my kids can stay in the same school, and then sell my current house. That would be nice, right? So
absolutely,
that's what we did. So we created a partnership with a company called Knock that allows us to do that. So it's things like that we're just trying to say, okay, what is preventing some people from selling? What is the inventory problem? Where are the challenges? And then let's go see if there's some solutions to those challenges. And if there is, great, let's partner with them. And if there's not, let's create them. And so that's constantly what the game we're kind of playing.
Yeah, I think that's good. And that's something, if I was to sit here and talk about, advice to agents, being very, very aware of the process and the contracts and the paperwork that you're using so you can inform the consumer correctly. And it sounds like that's really the name of the game, is making sure that the consumer knows what to expect. I like the idea of you putting in there, no offers will be reviewed on this date. You're informing the consumer about the process, which deflates, helps handle the whole process to get it under contract. Therefore, the seller doesn't feel overwhelmed, and it does kind of work. So that's really good advice. So let's talk about kind of the technology side of it just a little bit. What kind of technology do you see in the industry right now that is helping agents to market and get in front of the sellers and buyers out there? What kind of technology would you say is good technology they need to be focused on right now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, my advice when it comes to tech is stop fighting it, right? So many agents that we talk to or that I coach with are so scared of Zillow and Realtor.com and everyone else, right? They're so scared of the tech that's being developed and, oh my God, they just bought Showing Time. And guys, here's a short answer to this. Tech will always win. You are never, ever, ever going to stop the scale of technology, right? So now, to your point, it's about how do we leverage it, right? What tools are there for us to really use? And so from a marketing perspective, for an agent to not be leveraging Canva.com is just ridiculous, right? It's ludicrous. It is literally graphic design, point and click. And so what we do in our brokerage is we train every day. So it's always broker led. Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 9:30. We record it, but we're live via Zoom, and so we do that every day. And Mondays is dedicated just to marketing, branding, and that type of thing. So we're constantly doing classes on Canva. How do we leverage it more? How can I create one piece of content in there and then click the resize button and resize it and optimize it for 5 different platforms? Because realistically, from one piece of content that I create, I can have an agent that now has 5 to 6 variations of that for LinkedIn, for Facebook, for TikTok, for Twitter, for you name it, Instagram. They can put it on all those spots and print it as a postcard if they want, and make it into a flyer, right? From doing one piece of content. And so that's the type of technology that I'm like, guys, don't be scared of it. Let's leverage it, right? It exists. So the most time consuming part is creating that content, right? So let's make that super efficient. And then it just becomes about the distribution of it. And so that's really helpful. Getting back to some of the hand-to-hand combat stuff, right? So in our market, we have a platform called Remind. We use it a lot. So Remind is a great tool where you can actually scout and learn everything from any neighborhood, zip code, you name it. You can find the homeowners, what their home's worth, how much they owe on their mortgage. You can sort it by absentee owners. You can do all those sorts of things. So that's a super powerful tool, right? But now what we do is we teach our agents to take it a step further and say, okay, whether it's Remind or some other tool, I don't care if it's RedX or one of the others that you're using, get that info, right? But if I see that Adam owns 123 Street, rather than me just now text and call Adam, like, hey, Adam, you want to sell your house? Now I say, okay, let's go see if we can find Adam on LinkedIn. What does Adam do for a living, right? Why is that important? Well, if he's a data analyst, then I know now I can start to dive into, okay, what's Adam's personality going to be like? Now we're getting into DISC, right? But I don't want to just call Adam. I want to connect with Adam, right? I want to check him out on Facebook. What's he doing? Oh, his kids play sports. That's cool. What do they play? Oh, wait. Okay, that's a connection, right? So now I can start to really dive into and actually connect with Adam when I reach out. And so that all starts, though, by leveraging technology, leveraging the platforms that you have available to you in just a really simple grassroots kind of way, right? But then it allows me to connect. And I think that leads to a lot more success than if I just start cold calling people.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's leveraging the information that is out there at your disposal to help you to connect and relate to people. I like it. Now, in our area, I know we have like HomeSnap does kind of the same thing. And then the Realtor Property Resource, RPR, kind of gives a little bit of that data. Yeah. So if you guys are watching and you don't have the tools that he mentioned, there are tools in our area that do the exact same thing that he's talking about. And that's really just, it's data that you're leveraging to then use to help you relate to people. And that's that. Yeah. Great.
If you're a Century 21 agent and you have access to the Spark network, go in and join, because if it's an expense, there's a lot of benefits to it, but one of the benefits is forewarn. So forewarn obviously was designed for safety, right? Which is super important. But the other way to use forewarn, and what we've been using it for, is a great way to find contact information, because it's about 75% accurate. So now if I go find Adam on RPR, right? And yeah, they might give me some numbers, but a lot of times that's not great. I can go put Adam into forewarn and with 75% accuracy, find out his contact information, right? And so I would leverage some things like that too. You know, Realogy is a great partner of ours. If you're with Century 21, leverage those tools because they're there for you and they're available. So you might as well use them.
Absolutely agree with that. Emily Hacker just topped in. Love Forewarn. Yep. Our agents use it a lot. It's a great safety tool, but that's a great use case right there that you just described for it as well. That's good. That's good. Well, I got a couple more questions and we'll wrap this up with you, man. One being, let's just go straight there. 3 tips that you think would help agents in the real estate careers. You know, basically the 3 things that you would say are non-negotiables that agents should be working on. What would you say those are?
Number 1, get committed to your goal. 100%. Commitment is a big deal. So what I've seen so often is agents will set a goal. They'll set a, oh, I want to do this number of deals, or I want to make this level of money. But the reality is they really don't, right? It just sounds good. They like the idea of it. They're interested in it, but they're not committed to it. And there's a huge difference between being interested in something and being committed to it. And so my advice, like that is a non-negotiable for all of our agents that come to us. We take them through a process called their primary aim. And their primary aim is done for that reason. And it is solely to figure out what is their actual why, right? What are they actually committed to going and doing? Because once they become committed to it, then nothing will stop them. The hurdles, the no's, this door slammed in their face, the hangs-ups, the no response, none of that will stop them because it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. They're not committed to the actual effort. They're committed to the outcome that they want to have happen, right? And so the second that happens, that leads to it. So that's number 1. Number 2 is making sure that you're actually going to create an action plan that aligns with that, right? We say all the time that a lot of times the words coming out of someone's mouth does not align with the actions that they're actually taking. And so that's super important. So that's number 2. You got to get committed to it. And then you've got to build a framework that's going to allow you to take the actions to actually make that happen. And then finally, it's just no looking back, right? A lot of times we debate things. Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Will that work? Should I run a Facebook ad? What if no one responds? What if people make mean comments? Should I start a podcast show, right? What if no one listens? What if they do, right? We never know the alternative. So stop debating and start doing. And so for me, those are the 3 non-negotiable things that every agent has got to do. You got to get committed, you got to take action, and you got to stop debating.
Man, that's good. I agree with all of those. That's really, really good. Well, let's finish up with this one. Where do you think the real estate market is heading right now in the next maybe 3 or 4 years? What do you think? What's your thoughts?
So I don't think we're ever going to see a bust like some people are saying we're going to see a bust. Oh, the bubble's got to pop. This is not 07, 08. This is a very, very different situation. The demand is real. People have real equity. They really are qualified. So we're actually having real qualified buyers. So where I see it going, honestly, over the next year, for sure, is, will things level out a little bit? Sure. As rates come up, the market's going to level a little bit. But we have to keep in mind that we're doing all of this in the United States right now without any foreign travel. So I can't speak to every market, but I know our market is incredibly powered by Germany. We're incredibly powered by Canada, right? And so those are just the UK. These are places that cannot come here. And you've got a bunch of people that want to come here, right? And they can't. And so I think you're going to see a huge influx the second that they can. But if we don't have inventory, we're in big trouble, big trouble. So the inventory problems we're seeing now are only going to get worse. And so what I do think you're going to see is you're going to see supply start to increase again. You're going to see there has to be some correction on lumber and some of the supply costs. And so I think you'll see those kind of normalize a little bit. You will see the rates normalize a little bit. And I think you're going to see a steady flow. But I also think you're going to see a lot of agents start to leave the marketplace as this thing corrects itself. A lot of the agents who have just been lazy and just getting by because the market's crazy are going to be out of work. because all of a sudden the real agents are going to start to be exposed, and they're going to be the ones taking full advantage. So I don't see a big dip coming. I only see an increase coming, especially over the next year or so. The question is, will we be ready for it?
That's good. Mike, well said. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. You brought some good stuff, some good value, guys. Hopefully you took some notes. If you didn't, go back and rewatch this. And here it is, the end of the challenge, right? So Mike was competing with Johnny Knight. So here's what we can do. We can make this even more fun, right? Because these things are pre-recorded, right? Or we record these and we repost it. So we will take this interview and we will repost it. So we have Johnny Knight's interview and Mike Puma's interview. You guys can like, comment, and share those videos, and let's up the competition, right? Let's see who wins. We should give it a date or something, Mike. In the next 30 days, we'll see what happens.
Johnny better get ready to spend some money, because I'll run some Facebook and Instagram ads on this podcast right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Johnny, are you in, buddy? If you're still watching, man, drop it in the comments if you're in.
Oh, he'll be in. I know him. He'll be in.
He'll totally be in. Absolutely. He won't pass up a good competition.
Definitely not.
I agree with that. 100% agents that are committed will last. Yeah, Deanna, you're right. Yep.
For sure.
Good statement. So, Mike, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
For having me, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. You're welcome back anytime.
Awesome.
Yeah, anytime you got something you want to bring, just shoot me a message.
Yeah,
we'll bring you on.
Definitely will. We'll do it again for sure.
Awesome. Mike, thank you.
You got it. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thanks,
you
everyone.
too.
See ya.
Bye.